To prune raspberry bushes, you need three things. You need a good sharp clippers made for trimming branches. You need to wear a pair of gloves because raspberry canes have prickers on them. And you need to be wearing long sleeves so that you don't get your arms all scratched up from the raspberry canes. The tricky part is to figure out which canes are the dead ones. And so a cane is what we call the stem for the raspberry plant. And it's a little hard sometimes to tell what's alive and what's not alive. For example, if you look at this raspberry cane right here, you can see that it's got some leaves. But the end of it looks kind of dead, and so you might be tempted to cut that off. But the truth is that it just hasn't put out its leaves or buds yet. So if you cut that off, it will actually harm the plant. What you're looking for, let's see if we can find it in this one right here, are the branches that are kind of gray in color. Maybe the bark is peeling off and they truly look dead. And so those are the ones, like you can see this branch right here. That one is not going to produce any leaves or any fruit this year. And so we're gonna cut that so that the bush itself has more room to grow and it will produce more new branches to produce berries the year after this year, right? Because the only berries we're gonna get this year will grow on the branches that have leaves already, that started to grow last year. So we want to encourage new branches to grow this year so that we continue to have berries into the future. So I'm going to use this raspberry bush right here because it's pretty mature. You can see it's got a lot of leaves, and so it'll be pretty obvious which branches need to be cut. As you come into this bush and get up close, you can see that there is a branch right here that has peely bark, looks kind of gray, and so that's one of the ones that we're going to trim. So to do that, we're going to cut the branch off about 4 inches above the ground, and you have to give it a good firm cut. See that there? And then, of course, it's stuck on me because it has prickers, but then you'll take your gloved hand and you'll just carefully remove this branch from the plant. And because some of them are tied up, you might need to cut those ties too in order to remove those dead branches. And that's all there is to it. So you just go through and cut out all of the dead canes with the sharp trimmers. Remove this, and then usually, unless you can cut those into very, very small pieces, we don't compost the raspberry canes because you don't want somebody to be reaching into the compost, into the soil, and get stuck with those prickers. So you can also see there's a lot of grass mixed in with these raspberry bushes. So now's a good time to try to either weed that out or cut it out. You can see this one looks pretty dead. But I know that this particular type, which has these thick red branches, they are late bloomers. So it's actually too soon to trim this raspberry bush. So starting at the end of April, you can trim the ones that are starting to bloom, and probably the middle of May will be a good time to take a look at this one. Now you can see there's one branch in there that's got some leaves on it. So just keep an eye on it and do it little by little when the bushes are ready. So as you can see, this bush has most of the dead stuff cut out. I pulled out as much of the grass as I have time to pull out today. That's sort of an ever-present problem. And then the next important thing to do with the raspberry cane is to encourage the branches to grow inside these tomato cages. So you can see this really long branch right here is going to come out and try to poke the neighbors that are walking on the sidewalk. So what we want to do while the branches are young and very flexible is encourage them to grow inside. They're just sort of bending, and I know it's hard to see, but bending and twisting so that it's inside, and be really careful not to damage any of the buds or the leaves, and then that branch will just continue to grow in a little bit better direction and not block the sidewalk.